A ruthless vampire king forced her into marriage, but she ended up loving him. The tavern fell silent the moment the king's guards entered. Olivia's hands froze mid-wipe on the wooden counter, her heart dropping into her stomach. She knew what this was about. Everyone in the village knew what happened when the blood guard came calling during the full moon. "We're looking for the carpenter's daughter," the captain announced, his pale skin gleaming in the firelight. His eyes, unnaturally silver, scanned the room with predatory precision. Her father's hand gripped her shoulder from behind, trembling. "Please," he whispered, though whether to her or to God she couldn't tell. "That would be me." Olivia stepped forward, chin raised despite the terror coursing through her veins. She'd always known this day might come. Her father had borrowed heavily from the Vampire Kingdom's coffers after her mother's death, using the money to keep their carpentry business afloat during the plague years. But money borrowed from the immortal was never truly repaid, it merely changed form. The captain's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "The debt your father owes has come due. King Dominic has requested your presence at the palace, immediately." "She's just a girl," her father pleaded, stepping between them. "I'll work double, triple the hours, I'll—" Enough, the single word from the captain made the windows rattle. The king has been more than patient. 20 years he's waited, the terms were clear. 20 years. Olivia had been an infant when her father made that desperate bargain. She wondered if he'd ever truly believed this day would come, or if he'd hoped the immortal king would simply forget about one human's debt among thousands. "I'll go," she said quietly. "Father, it's all right." It wasn't all right. Nothing about this was all right, but she'd watched her father carry this guilt like stones in his pockets for as long as she could remember. Maybe now he could finally rest. The journey to the palace took 3 days by carriage, a black, windowless thing that reeked of old blood and older magic. Olivia shared the space with 2 other young women, both equally terrified, both equally resigned to whatever fate awaited them. "I heard he drains them dry on the wedding night," whispered Clara, a blacksmith's daughter with soot still under her fingernails. "I heard he keeps a harem of humans just for feeding," added the third girl, whose name Olivia never learned. Olivia said nothing. She'd heard all the stories about King Dominic, the vampire who'd ruled the northern territories for 3 centuries, who'd ended the human-vampire wars by sheer brutality, who could kill with a glance and had no capacity for mercy. But she'd also heard other things, whispers that he was just, that under his rule humans had more rights than they'd had under human kings, that he protected his territories fiercely, that famine and plague rarely touched his lands. Of course, it was easy to keep your citizens healthy when you viewed them as livestock. The palace materialized from the mountain mist like a bad dream, all black stone and sharp towers, windows like watchful eyes. The full moon hung above it, bloated and obscene. Inside, the air felt different, thicker, charged with ancient power. Olivia and the other women were separated immediately. She was taken to a suite of rooms so luxurious they made her father's entire shop look like a hovel. A bath had been drawn, clothes laid out, jewelry arranged on velvet. "You have 2 hours to prepare," said the servant, a human woman with dead eyes. "Then you'll be presented to the king." Presented for what? But the woman had already gone. Olivia bathed because she was dirty, dressed because she was cold, but refused to touch the jewelry. If she was going to meet the monster who owned her father's debt, she'd do it as herself, not dressed up like some doll. The throne room was exactly as intimidating as she'd imagined. High ceilings lost in shadow, walls lined with the banners of conquered kingdoms, and at the center, elevated on a dais of black marble, a throne that looked carved from a single piece of obsidian. On it sat King Dominic. Olivia had expected someone obviously monstrous, twisted by centuries of darkness, marked by the evil she'd heard about in stories. Instead, the man before her was beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful, sharp, cold, perfectly crafted. He looked perhaps 30 in human years, with dark hair that fell past his shoulders and eyes the color of fresh blood. He wore black and silver, and he radiated power like heat from a forge. He was also clearly, deeply angry. "You brought me this." His voice was soft, which somehow made it more terrifying. "I asked for the carpenter's daughter, the one he valued enough to borrow a king's ransom to save from starvation. I wanted the child he treasured, and you bring me this." The captain beside Olivia bowed deeply. "Sire, this is—" a farmer's daughter playing dress-up by the look of it. She refused even to wear the jewels provided. Despite her fear, Olivia felt anger spark in her chest. I wore what I chose. I'm here to settle a debt, not to be your decorative trinket. The throne room went absolutely silent. The king leaned forward slightly, those red eyes focusing on her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. You dare speak to me with such insolence? You asked for the carpenter's daughter. I'm Olivia Thorne, only child of Marcus Thorne. If you wanted someone who would grovel and simper, perhaps you should have been more specific in your contract. A sound rippled through the watching crowd. Was that laughter, quickly stifled but definitely there? King Dominic stood, and even that simple movement was like watching a predator wake. He descended the dais steps with inhuman grace, stopping just in front of her. Up close, he was taller than she'd realized, and the power rolling off him made her want to step back. She didn't. Do you know why you're here, Olivia Thorne? To pay my father's debt. And do you know the terms of that debt? She shook her head. His smile was all fangs. Your father borrowed enough gold to save his business and feed his village through the plague years. In exchange, he promised me his most precious possession when the debt came due. He circled her slowly, and she forced herself to stand still. I assumed he would value his only daughter above all else. I assumed he would have raised someone remarkable, someone worth the wait. Maybe I am remarkable, Olivia said. Or maybe your assumptions about how valuable women are to their fathers was just another way men see us as property to be traded. The king stopped circling. When she dared to look at his face, his expression was unreadable. The terms of the debt, he continued, require that you marry me, tonight, and remain my wife for as long as I deem the debt unpaid. Olivia's breath caught. Marry you, but the other girls are none of your concern. You are the only one who carries a blood debt directly to the crown. He stepped closer. You will be my queen. You will sit beside me, rule beside me, and share my bed until I decide your father's debt is settled. This could take years, decades. I am immortal. Time means nothing to me. And if I refuse, then your father, your village, and everyone he's ever traded with will be held accountable for the debt. I will take it in blood and land and lives. Your choice. It was no choice at all, and he knew it. Olivia looked into those inhuman red eyes and saw no mercy, no compassion, nothing but cold calculation. This was a creature who viewed humans as things to be used. Her suffering or happiness would mean nothing to him. I'll need a few minutes, she said quietly. You have 10, then we proceed to the chapel. The wedding was a blur. Olivia stood in a dress that had appeared in her rooms, black silk and silver thread, beautiful and suffocating. The chapel was full of vampires, their eyes glowing in the candlelight like dozens of predators watching fresh meat. The priest was human, but his hands shook as he performed the ceremony. King Dominic's responses were bored, perfunctory. Olivia's were numb. When the priest pronounced them married, the king kissed her, cold lips, brief contact, nothing remotely romantic. A contract sealed, nothing more. The feast afterward was worse. Olivia sat beside her new husband on a throne that had been hastily prepared, watching vampires drink blood from crystal goblets while human servants trembled in the corners. She couldn't eat, though the food brought to her was exquisite. You're not celebrating, wife, Dominic observed. He hadn't touched his own goblet of blood. Forgive me if I'm not in a festive mood. I suppose being sold by one's father does dampen the spirits. He didn't sell me. You trapped him with an impossible debt. I offered him a choice. He chose to accept my terms. When the alternative is watching your child starve, it's not really a choice. The king actually looked at her then, really looked. You defend him, even now. He's my father. He did what he thought he had to do. Olivia met his gaze steadily. But don't expect me to thank you for it. You're not my savior. You're just another master with a different title. Something flickered in those red eyes, surprise, anger. It was gone too quickly to tell. Come, he said abruptly, standing. I'll show you to your chambers. The walk through the palace corridors was silent except for their footsteps, hers echoing, his making no sound at all. Olivia expected to be taken to his rooms, to the marriage bed everyone had whispered about. Instead, he stopped at a different door entirely. These are your quarters, he said, opening it to reveal a suite even larger than the one she'd prepared in. You'll sleep here. But I thought the marriage is legal and binding. but I have no interest in forcing myself on an unwilling woman despite what your village stories might suggest. He turned to leave, then paused. There are rules. You don't leave the palace grounds without my permission. You don't speak to foreign dignitaries without my approval. You attend required functions at my side. Beyond that, he shrugged. Find ways to occupy yourself. The library is extensive. Wait, Olivia called as he started to walk away. Why marry me at all if you don't want? Whatever this is supposed to be. King Dominic looked back at her, and for just a moment she saw something ancient and weary in his expression. Because I made a deal and I keep my word, even when the terms no longer suit me. He paused. Your father made a bargain he couldn't keep. I won't make the same mistake. Sleep well, wife. Tomorrow your real education begins. Then he was gone, disappeared into shadow like he'd never been there at all. Olivia stood in the doorway of her golden cage and wondered what she'd just gotten herself into. The first week of marriage was perhaps the strangest of Olivia's life. She woke each morning in sheets softer than clouds, ate breakfast that was better than anything she'd tasted in her village, and spent her days wandering a palace that seemed to have no end. The library alone was 3 stories tall, filled with books in languages she couldn't read and histories of empires that had crumbled to dust centuries ago. King Dominic was notably absent. His Majesty is occupied with matters of state. His personal assistant, a severe vampire woman named Victoria, informed her when Olivia finally asked. He has no time for domestic concerns. The word domestic was delivered with such disdain that Olivia almost laughed. Apparently, even among vampires, wives were considered inconvenient. But on the 8th day, everything changed. Olivia was in the library, attempting to decipher a book on vampire history, when a commotion erupted from the courtyard below. She rushed to the window to see guards flooding the grounds, weapons drawn, surrounding a figure on horseback. No, not a figure, King Dominic. He was covered in blood. Olivia's feet were moving before she could think. She ran through corridors she'd memorized, down staircases, bursting into the courtyard just as her husband dismounted. Up close, the damage was worse, deep gashes across his chest, his face pale even for a vampire, one arm hanging uselessly. What happened? She demanded, pushing past the guards. Dominic's red eyes focused on her with surprise. You should be in the palace. You're hurt. I'm immortal, I'll heal. You're bleeding. And he was, not the sluggish flow of human blood, but something darker, thicker. It stained his clothes and dripped onto the courtyard stones where it sizzled faintly. Rogue vampires, Victoria explained, appearing at Olivia's side. They've been attacking border settlements. His Majesty went to handle it. Alone, Olivia stared at her husband, who was now being supported by 2 guards. He went alone. The king needs no one, Victoria began. The king clearly needed someone, given that he looks like he lost a fight with a bear. Olivia moved to Dominic's uninjured side. Where's the infirmary? My queen, vampires don't require. Then where does he rest? Where can he recover? A strange expression crossed Victoria's face, something almost like approval. This way. They half carried the king to his chambers, rooms Olivia had never seen, all dark wood and darker fabrics. He was deposited on a bed large enough for 5 people and immediately tried to sit up. Everyone out, he commanded. The guards and servants scattered. Victoria hesitated, glanced at Olivia, then left as well. Leaving Olivia alone with her injured husband. You should go too, Dominic said. He'd managed to sit up, was already pulling at his ruined shirt. This doesn't concern you. You're my husband. A formality. A fact. Olivia moved closer, getting her first real look at the wounds. The gashes were deep, something with claws had done this. What attacked you? Vampires who have rejected the peace. They prefer the old ways, hunting humans freely, taking what they want. He winced as the shirt came off, revealing more damage. They've been building forces in the mountains. I went to remind them why that's unwise. By letting them shred you. Despite his pain, he almost smiled. There were 30 of them, now there are none. I'd call that a successful negotiation. Olivia found water and cloth. The king apparently did keep some human supplies in his rooms, and began cleaning the wounds. Up close, she could see they were already starting to heal, flesh knitting together in a way that was both fascinating and disturbing. You don't have to do this, Dominic said quietly. I know you didn't choose any of this. No, I didn't. Olivia wrung out the cloth, watched his dark blood swirl in the water. But you did go fight monsters who wanted to hurt humans. That counts for something. I didn't do it for gratitude. Why did you do it? He was quiet for a long moment, because I remember what the old ways were like. The fear, the constant death, humans bred like cattle kept in pens, hunted for sport. His red eyes met hers. I ended that. I won't allow it to return. Even though you see us as lesser. I never said that. You didn't have to. You bought me like property. I collected a debt, he corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Olivia moved to the gashes on his arm, which were deeper than the others. You hold all the power, you make all the choices, I'm just, here, decoration for your throne room. Dominic caught her wrist, gently despite his strength. You think you have no power. I know I don't. Then you're not paying attention. He released her, leaned back against the pillows. In 1 week you've mapped the entire palace, befriended half the human servants, convinced my head cook to teach you the kitchen, and somehow got Victoria to smile, something I haven't seen in 50 years. You're not decoration, Olivia. You're a hurricane pretending to be a breeze. She stared at him, surprised. You've been watching me. I'm always watching. I'm a king. It's my job to know everything happening in my domain. His eyes drifted closed. And you are unexpected. Is that good or bad? I haven't decided yet. Olivia finished cleaning his wounds in silence. By the time she was done, most of them had healed completely, leaving only faint silver scars that would probably disappear by morning. Thank you, Dominic said as she prepared to leave. You didn't have to help. Yes, I did. We're married, remember, till the debt is paid. About that, he sat up fully now, looking healthier. I should tell you, the debt can be paid in other ways. Service instead of time. If you wanted to work in the palace in some official capacity, I could credit that against what's owed. Olivia's heart jumped, meaning I could leave sooner. Something that might have been disappointment flickered across his face. Potentially, yes. What kind of service? Whatever suits your skills. Education, administration, diplomacy. He paused. I meant what I said. You're intelligent, observant. Those are rare qualities, human or vampire. It was tempting, a way to buy back her freedom faster, to return to her father, to her life. But something made her hesitate. Can I think about it? Of course, he stood, apparently fully recovered now. You're not my prisoner, Olivia, you're my wife. That comes with certain privileges. Like the privilege of being ignored for a week. Now he definitely smiled. I thought you'd prefer that to forced proximity. I did. She moved toward the door. But maybe complete avoidance isn't necessary either. What are you suggesting? Olivia wasn't entirely sure herself. Have dinner with me, tomorrow, not some state function, just dinner. If we're going to be married for however long, we should at least be able to tolerate each other's company. Dominic looked genuinely surprised. You want to have dinner with me? I want to understand you. There's a difference. He studied her for a long moment, those red eyes unreadable. Then he nodded once. Tomorrow, I'll have something arranged. Olivia left his chambers with her mind spinning. What was she doing? This man, this creature, had forced her into marriage, owned her like property, held her father's fate in his immortal hands. But he'd also protected humans at great cost to himself, treated her with more respect than many human men showed their wives, gave her freedom within her cage. He was a monster, but perhaps not the monster she'd expected. Dinner the next evening was set in a private dining room Olivia hadn't known existed, smaller, more intimate, with windows overlooking the mountains. Dominic was already there when she arrived, dressed less formally than usual, the high collar of his shirt open. You came, he said, standing. You sound surprised. I thought you might reconsider, decide it's too dangerous to dine with the monster. Olivia sat across from him. I grew up learning to identify dangerous wood, the kind that splinters, that hides rot beneath smooth surfaces. You're dangerous, but not in the way I expected. A servant brought food for Olivia and a crystal goblet of blood for Dominic. He didn't touch it. You don't have to abstain on my account, Olivia said. It makes humans uncomfortable. I'm going to have to get used to it if I'm living here. He picked up the goblet, watching her reaction. When she simply began eating her own meal, he took a small sip. You're different from other humans I've known. You mean I'm not screaming in terror? I mean you're not performing. Most humans, when they're afraid, either cower or pretend bravery. You just... He set down the goblet. It's refreshing. My mother used to say fear is just information. It tells you something might be dangerous, but that doesn't mean you can't examine it. Wise woman, what happened to her? Plague 10 years ago. Olivia pushed food around her plate. Ironic, considering we're in the one kingdom where plague is rare. Your father couldn't afford to move here before. The entry taxes were substantial. You mean you made it expensive for humans to seek refuge? I made it expensive to prevent being overrun. My kingdom can support a certain population comfortably. Beyond that, we'd have exactly the famines and disease you're trying to escape. Dominic leaned back. Governance isn't about being kind, it's about being sustainable. And yet you went into the mountains alone to fight vampires who threatened your human citizens. That's different. How? He was quiet for a moment, because those vampires would have destroyed everything I've built. 50 years ago, humans and vampires were at war. Constant, brutal, pointless. I ended it by being stronger than anyone else, human or vampire, by making rules and enforcing them absolutely. His red eyes met hers. The moment I show weakness, the moment I let rogues attack without consequence, it all falls apart. So you're not protecting humans, you're protecting your system. Can't it be both? Olivia considered that. I suppose it can. They ate well, she ate in companionable silence for a while. Then Dominic asked, what did you do in your village before this? Helped my father with carpentry, kept the books, managed orders, designed some of the more intricate pieces. She smiled slightly. I was better at the business side than the actual woodworking, though don't tell him I said that. You should see the palace records. They're a disaster, 3 different systems, none compatible, 2 centuries of backlog. He paused. That could be your service if you wanted. Managing your records would pay the debt. Eventually, and it would give you something to do besides haunt my library. I don't haunt, I explore. You've read 17 books in 8 days. Victoria's been tracking. Why? Because you're interesting. He said it simply, like it was obvious. My last 3 wives read nothing at all. Olivia nearly choked on her wine. You're what? Political marriages, all ended within a year. I released them from the contracts when their father's debts were satisfied. Dominic's expression was neutral. None of them were remotely interested in being here. I didn't force them to stay. But you forced them to marry you. Their father's debts forced them. I just enforced the contracts. That's a convenient distinction. It's an accurate one. He stood, walked to the window. You think I enjoy this, collecting terrified women like debts owed? I don't. But I'm a king, my word is law. If I let one debt slide, every contract I've ever made becomes meaningless. Olivia joined him at the window. Below, the palace grounds stretched out in moonlit splendor. You could change the law, you're the king. And lose all credibility. Have every vampire in my territory question my strength. He shook his head. The only thing that keeps this peace is absolute consistency. I cannot afford to be merciful. That sounds lonely. He glanced at her, surprised. What? Never being able to bend, to change, to choose mercy. Olivia studied his profile, sharp and perfect and utterly isolated. That sounds unbearably lonely. For a long moment Dominic said nothing, then so quietly she almost missed it. Yes. They stood there in silence, an immortal king and a carpenter's daughter, both trapped by systems neither had chosen. I'll do it, Olivia said finally. The records, I'll organize them. You don't have to. I want something to do besides read and wander, and if it shortens my time here. She trailed off, not sure why that thought didn't bring the relief it should have. Then it settled. Dominic turned to face her fully. Olivia, I know this isn't what you wanted, but I promise you I will keep you safe, from external threats from my court, from anyone who might wish you harm. What about from you? Especially from me. She believed him, which was perhaps the strangest part of all. 3 months into her marriage, Olivia had settled into a routine that almost felt normal. Mornings were spent in the records room, a massive chamber filled with centuries of documents that she was slowly, painstakingly organizing into a coherent system. Afternoons were for council meetings, where she sat beside Dominic and learned the intricate politics of ruling a kingdom split between two species. Evenings were for dinner together. It had become their ritual, no servants, no formality, just conversation. They argued about governance, discussed books, debated philosophy. Dominic was brilliant and infuriating in equal measure, and Olivia found herself looking forward to their verbal sparring more than she wanted to admit. What she didn't expect was to start caring about him. It happened gradually. The way he listened when she spoke, really listened, like her thoughts mattered. The way he'd reformed 3 outdated laws after she pointed out how they disadvantaged human citizens. The way he always ensured she had hot tea during council meetings, remembering she got cold in the stone chambers. Small things, insignificant things. Things that added up to something terrifying. "You're staring," Dominic observed one evening, glancing up from his book. They were in the library, a new habit. After dinner they'd gravitated here, reading in comfortable silence. "I'm thinking," Olivia corrected. "About how strange this all is. 3 months ago I hated you. And now..." She wasn't ready to answer that. "Now I understand you better." He set down his book. "That's not what you were going to say." "How would you know?" "Because I can hear your heartbeat, remember. It accelerates when you lie." "Damn vampire senses. Fine, now I don't hate you, happy." Ecstatic, but he smiled as he said it, that rare genuine smile she'd learned to recognize. "For what it's worth, I don't hate you either." "You never hated me." "No," he agreed quietly, "I never did." The air between them felt charged suddenly, heavy with things unsaid. Olivia stood abruptly. "I should go, it's late." "Olivia, wait." She paused at the door. Dominic crossed the space between them with inhuman speed, stopping just close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "I need to tell you something. About the debt." Her heart stuttered. "What about it?" "It was paid off 2 months ago." The world tilted. "What?" "Your work on the records, your assistance in council, your diplomatic suggestions, all of it counted toward the debt. You paid it back, twice over actually." He wouldn't meet her eyes. "You've been free to leave for 8 weeks." Olivia's mind reeled. "But you didn't tell me." "No." "Why?" Now he did look at her, and the raw honesty in his expression stole her breath. "Because I didn't want you to go." "Use what?" "I know I have no right. I know this started as a forced arrangement. But somewhere along the way you became the best part of my immortal existence." He stepped back, giving her space. "You're free, Olivia. You've been free. I'll have divorce papers drawn up immediately, provide you with enough gold to live comfortably anywhere you choose. Your father's debt is cleared entirely. You owe me nothing." She should feel relieved, ecstatic, free. Instead, she felt betrayed. "You lied to me." "Yes." "For 2 months." "Yes." "While I worked and attended meetings and thought I was still trapped here." "You were building a life," Dominic interrupted. "Admit it, you weren't just serving time. You made friends, pursued interests, learned to govern, you were happy." "That's not the point." "Then what is?" "You took my choice," Olivia's voice cracked. "Again, just like forcing me into marriage took my choice. You decided what I should know and when I should know it, and I'm so tired of powerful men making decisions about my life." Dominic flinched like she'd struck him. "You're right, I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix it." "I know." He moved to his desk, retrieved a document. "The divorce papers, already signed on my end. You just need to add your name and you're free, completely legally free." Olivia took the papers with shaking hands. This was it. Her exit, everything she'd wanted since this nightmare began. So why did it feel like her heart was breaking? "I need time," she said, "to think." "Take all the time you need. I'll have Victoria prepare travel documents just in case." "Stop," Olivia looked up at him, this immortal king who'd somehow become important to her. "Stop planning my exit, just give me space." She left before he could respond, the divorce papers clutched against her chest. Olivia didn't sleep that night. She paced her chambers, the papers on her desk like an accusation. Free, she was free, could go home, see her father, return to her old life. Except that life felt distant now, like a story she'd read about someone else. A knock at her door startled her from her thoughts. "Come in." Victoria entered, her usually severe expression softened slightly. "Forgive the intrusion, my queen. I thought you might need someone to talk to." "I'm not sure I'm your queen anymore." "You are until you sign those papers." Victoria sat uninvited, a shocking breach of protocol, "and perhaps I can offer some perspective." "Did Dominic send you?" "No, he's brooding in his chambers, refusing to see anyone." A ghost of a smile. "Very dramatic, very unlike him." Despite everything, Olivia almost laughed. "What perspective could you possibly offer?" "I've served the king for 73 years. I've seen him marry 3 times before you." Victoria folded her hands. "He barely spoke to those women, fulfilled his legal obligations and nothing more. With you," she paused, "with you he's different, present, almost human." "He kept the truth from me." "He did, and that was wrong." Victoria met her eyes. "But ask yourself, why did he do it? Was it to control you, or because he'd found something rare and precious and wasn't ready to let it go?" "That's still selfish." "Of course it is. He's been king for 300 years. Selfishness is bred into his bones." Victoria stood. "But in those 300 years, I've never seen him care about anyone's happiness except as it serves political ends. Until you." After Victoria left, Olivia returned to pacing. The truth was, she didn't want to leave. Somewhere in the past 3 months, this palace had become home. The work she did mattered. The conversations with Dominic fed something in her soul she hadn't known was starving. And Dominic himself. She was in love with him, had been for weeks probably. She'd just been too stubborn to admit it. But he'd still lied, still taken her choice. Unless... A thought struck her. He'd given her the papers, told her the truth, given her the power to leave. He'd returned her choice. Olivia grabbed the papers and ran. She found Dominic exactly where Victoria had said, in his chambers, standing at the window, looking more alone than she'd ever seen him. "I'm not signing," she said from the doorway. He turned, hope and fear warring in his expression. "What?" "I'm not signing the divorce papers, I'm staying." She moved into the room. "But we're doing this my way now." "Your ways." "We start over, not as debtor and king, but as equals. We court properly, you ask me on proper dates. We spend time together because we choose to, not because of some contract." She stopped in front of him. "And you never, ever lie to me again, not even by omission." "Olivia." "I mean it, Dominic. Full honesty or I walk." "You'll have it, I swear." He reached for her hand hesitantly like he thought she might pull away. When she didn't, he laced their fingers together. "Why are you staying?" "Because I want to, because the work I do here matters, because I've never had conversations like the ones we have." She took a breath. "Because somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you and I'd like to see where that goes." His eyes widened. "You love me?" "Unfortunately, yes, very inconvenient." Dominic laughed, actual, genuine laughter that transformed his face. Then he pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "I love you too, have for weeks, possibly from the moment you told me off in the throne room." "That's ridiculous." "That's the truth." He pulled back to look at her. "So we start over, properly." "Properly." "Then, Olivia Thorne." He took both her hands. "Would you do me the honour of joining me for dinner tomorrow evening? Not as my wife, but as a woman I'm desperately trying to court." She smiled. "I would love to." He kissed her then, soft and careful, and nothing like the perfunctory press of lips at their wedding. This kiss was a question and a promise, gentle despite his strength, warm despite his nature. When they finally broke apart, Olivia was breathless. "One more thing," she said. "Those other wives you mentioned, where are they now?" "Living happily, as far as I know. One married a merchant, one opened a school, one became a ship captain." He studied her face. "Why?" "Just making sure you don't have a habit of murdering ex-wives." "Only current ones who ask too many questions." She swatted his arm. "Not funny." "A little funny." Maybe it was. Maybe everything about this was absurd. A carpenter's daughter falling for a vampire king, choosing to stay in a marriage that had started as slavery. But as Dominic pulled her close again, as she felt his cool lips against her temple and heard him murmur promises in a language older than her country, Olivia thought that perhaps the best things in life were a little absurd. The next few weeks were a revelation. Dominic courted her with an intensity that was both thrilling and slightly terrifying. Moonlit walks through the palace gardens, private concerts in the music room, a full day spent in the archives because she'd mentioned wanting to learn about vampire history. He was attentive, passionate, and genuinely interested in everything about her. They talked for hours, debated philosophy, argued about governance. He asked her opinion on treaties and actually listened to her suggestions. "You're making me soft," he complained one evening as they reviewed a new trade agreement. "Last week I reduced tariffs because you said it would help human farmers." "You reduced tariffs because it was good policy." "I reduced tariffs because you smiled when you suggested it, and I'm apparently incapable of denying you anything." Olivia laughed. Poor immortal king, forced to be reasonable. "It's terrible for my reputation," but he was smiling. The physical side of their relationship progressed slowly. Dominic was cautious, always asking permission, always giving her space to retreat. It was sweet and frustrating in equal measure. "You know we're actually married," Olivia pointed out one night when he'd stopped kissing her, again to make sure she was comfortable. "You're allowed to want me." "Oh, I want you." His red eyes had darkened to crimson. "But I need you to choose this, fully, not because of some contract or obligation." "I choose you, I keep choosing you." "Then I'm the luckiest creature in existence." When they finally came together completely, it was everything Olivia hadn't known she needed: passion and tenderness, his supernatural strength tempered by absolute care. He worshipped her like she was precious, like she was chosen, like she was loved. Because she was. 4 months after Olivia had chosen to stay, Victoria found her in the records room. "My queen, you have a visitor." Olivia looked up from her filing. "Who?" "Your father." Her heart leaped. She'd written to him weekly, assuring him she was well, but they hadn't seen each other since the wedding. "Show him in." Marcus Thorne entered hesitantly, looking small and old in the grand palace. When he saw Olivia, his face crumpled with relief. "Livy, oh, my girls." She ran to him, hugging him tight. "Father, you're here. I had to see for myself that you were all right. Your letters, they seemed almost happy. I thought perhaps you were just trying to spare me worry." He pulled back, studying her face. "But you really are all right." "I am better than all right." Olivia took his hand. "Come, there's someone you should properly meet." She found Dominic in his study, buried in paperwork. He looked up when they entered, and his expression shuttered slightly when he saw Marcus. "Mr. Thorne," he said formally, standing. "Welcome." Her father bowed, too deep, too subservient. "Your Majesty, I came to see my daughter, to make sure she's being treated well." "She's treated like the queen she is." Dominic's voice was carefully neutral. "You're welcome to visit anytime. I'll have rooms prepared." "Actually," Olivia interrupted, "I was hoping father might stay for a while. I've been working on the palace records, and there are some beautiful carpentry pieces in storage that need restoration, if you'd be willing." Her father looked between them, confused. "Aye, of course, if His Majesty permits." "The Queen permits it," Dominic said. "That's what matters." Over dinner that night, Olivia had insisted her father join them. She watched the 2 men in her life slowly take each other's measure. Marcus was clearly terrified at first, but as the evening went on and Dominic asked intelligent questions about carpentry, showed genuine interest in his craft, her father began to relax. "You care for her," Marcus said abruptly. "My daughter, this isn't just political." "No," Dominic agreed. "It stopped being political the moment she told me I was making poor assumptions about fathers and daughters." "She's always been bold," pride crept into Marcus's voice. "Her mother was the same." "I'm sitting right here," Olivia pointed out. Both men ignored her. "I need to apologize," Marcus said, "for putting you in this position, for making that bargain." "Father, we've talked about this." "Let me finish, Livy." He looked at Dominic. "I thought I was sacrificing her, sending her to a monster who would use her and discard her. I've carried that guilt every day." "You were trying to save your village," Dominic said quietly. "I understand desperation." But she's happy here, I can see it. Marcus's eyes were wet. And that makes it both better and worse. Better because my daughter has found something good. Worse because I almost denied her that by being a coward. You're not a coward, Olivia said firmly. You're a father who did what he had to do. She's right, Dominic added. And for what it's worth, I'm grateful you made that bargain. Without it, I never would have met her. The simple honesty of it made Olivia's heart clench. Her father stayed for 2 weeks, long enough to restore 3 pieces of antique furniture and to see for himself that his daughter was genuinely happy. Before he left, he pulled Olivia aside. I was wrong about him, Marcus said. About this place, about everything. I was too, Olivia admitted. Turns out monsters are more complicated than the stories suggest. He loves you, you know that, right? I do. And you love him. Yes. Marcus hugged her tight. Then I can go home with a light heart, write often, Livy, and be happy. I will. After her father left, Olivia found Dominic on the battlements, his favourite place to think. Thank you, she said, sliding under his arm, for being kind to him. I wasn't kind, I was honest. He pulled her closer, though I admit I was prepared to dislike him intensely. Because he made the bargain. Because he got 27 years with you, and I've only had months. Olivia turned in his arms, rising on her toes to kiss him. You have eternity, remember, assuming you don't get yourself killed fighting rogue vampires. About that, he looked uncomfortable. I have to go north again, there's been another uprising. Fear shot through her. Take guards this time. I will. Promise me. I promise I have too much to come home to now. He kissed her forehead. Wait for me. Always. But as Olivia watched him prepare to leave the next morning, surrounded by guards, she couldn't shake a feeling of dread. Something was about to go very wrong. Dominic had been gone for 3 days when Victoria came to Olivia's chambers in the middle of the night. My queen, wake up, please. Olivia jolted awake. What's wrong? The king's battalion was ambushed. There are casualties. Her heart stopped. Dominic. Alive but injured. They're bringing him back now. Victoria's face was grim. But there's something else, something you need to see before he arrives. Still in her nightdress, Olivia followed Victoria through the palace to a section she'd never entered. Older, the stones darker, the air heavier with ancient magic. Where are we going? The True Records room. Victoria stopped at a door covered in symbols that hurt to look at. What you've been organising, that's public record, but every vampire kingdom keeps secrets, truths too dangerous for common knowledge. She opened the door to reveal a chamber lined with books bound in materials Olivia couldn't identify. Victoria went directly to one, pulled it down, flipped to a marked page. Read this quickly. Olivia scanned the text, old script difficult to decipher, but certain words jumped out. Prophecy, human queen, balance, and then. Her blood went cold. This can't be right. It is. That prophecy is 3,000 years old, recorded by the first vampire seers. Victoria's expression was unreadable. They foretold a human queen who would marry the strongest vampire king, a queen who would bridge both worlds, who would carry the power to end our species or save us. This is insane. I'm just a carpenter's daughter. Your father is a carpenter, but your mother... Victoria pulled down another book. We've been investigating since you arrived. Your mother's bloodline goes back to the first human families, the ones who made the original peace treaties with vampires. She carried ancient magic in her veins, magic she passed to you. Olivia's mind reeled. My mother was just a village healer. She had no magic. She hid it. She had to. Humans with active magic are rare and valuable. She would have been claimed by some lord or king if anyone had known. Victoria's voice softened. She died using the last of her power to hold off the plague long enough for your village to evacuate. Your father never knew. How do you know this? Because I was sent to verify it, before the king offered your father that bargain. Victoria met her eyes. Dominic knew who you were from the beginning, what you could potentially become. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. He knew the whole time. Not everything. The prophecy is vague. It speaks of choice, of balance, of a queen who could either unite the species or destroy us all. But he knew you carried significant power. So this whole thing, the debt, the marriage, everything, it was manipulation. Olivia's voice cracked. He never cared about me. I was just some prophecy tool he wanted to control. No, the word was sharp. That's what I thought at first too, why I've been watching you both so carefully. Victoria moved closer. But I've served Dominic for 73 years and I've never seen him care about anything but duty. Until you, the way he looks at you, talks to you, changes his policies based on your input. That's not manipulation. That's love. But he still lied. Yes, and you need to ask him why. Before Olivia could respond, a commotion erupted from the courtyard. Dominic was back. She ran through the palace, her heart at war with itself. He'd lied, again, everything she thought she knew. But when she burst into the courtyard and saw him, saw the blood, the injuries far worse than last time, the way he was barely conscious. Nothing else mattered. Get him to his chambers, she commanded. Send for the healers now. They carried him to his rooms, and Olivia dismissed everyone except the medical staff. His injuries were catastrophic, wounds that even vampire healing would struggle with. Something had poisoned the cuts. His skin was turning black around the gashes. What happened? She demanded of the captain who'd returned with him. It was a trap. They knew we were coming, had weapons forged specifically to kill vampires. He looked haunted. The king threw himself in front of a blade meant for me, saved my life and took the poison himself. Of course he did, because beneath the crown and the power and the lies, Dominic was someone who protected those he cared about, even at cost to himself. Everyone out, Olivia said. I'll tend to him. My queen, the poison. Louty. When they were alone, she approached the bed where Dominic lay, his breathing laboured, his usually perfect skin marred by spreading darkness. You idiot, she whispered, beginning to clean the wounds. You absolute idiot, getting yourself nearly killed. His eyes fluttered open. Olivia. I'm here. I told them not to bring me back. Too dangerous for you if the poison spreads. Shut up, you're not dying. She worked frantically, remembering everything her mother had taught her about healing, wishing desperately that she had inherited whatever magic Victoria claimed ran in her blood. Her hands began to glow. Olivia gasped as warmth spread through her palms, golden light spilling from her skin onto Dominic's wounds. Where the light touched, the black poison retreated, the flesh began to knit, the infection burned away like mist in sunlight. What Dominic started? I don't know, just don't fight it. She poured everything into healing him, all her fear, all her love, all her confused anger at his deception. The magic responded, growing stronger, until the entire room was bathed in golden light. When it finally faded, Dominic's wounds were gone, completely healed without even a scar. Olivia collapsed beside the bed, exhausted. You have magic, Dominic said, sitting up. He looked awed. True magic, I suspected, but to see it. You knew, it wasn't a question. Victoria showed me the records, the prophecy, my mother's bloodline. You knew all of it. His expression shuttered. Olivia. Why keep it from me? Because I was afraid. The admission burst from him. The prophecy says you'll either unite our species or end us, that you have the power to destroy everything I've built. And I thought if you knew, if you understood what you were, you'd be terrified, or worse, you'd see yourself as a weapon to be used. So instead you used me yourself. No, yes, maybe at first. He ran a hand through his hair. When I first made the bargain with your father, it was strategic. Secure the prophesied queen before someone else did. Keep you close, controlled. But then I met you, and you were nothing like I expected. You were fierce and brilliant, and you challenged me in ways no one had in centuries. He reached for her hand hesitantly. And I fell in love with you, completely. The prophecy stopped mattering because all I wanted was to keep you safe and happy, destiny be damned. You still should have told me. I know, I kept meaning to, but I was terrified you'd leave, that you'd think everything between us was manipulation. His red eyes were desperate. I love you, Olivia. That's the only truth that matters. Not the prophecy, not politics, not power, just you. She wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold onto her righteous fury. But she just nearly lost him. Had watched him bleeding out, poisoned, dying. Had felt her magic she hadn't known existed, surge to save him because the thought of a world without Dominic was unbearable. I love you too, she said finally, and I'm absolutely furious with you. That's fair. But we're going to work through this, because apparently I can't help healing you even when I'm angry, and that seems significant. A smile tugged at his lips, very significant. Tell me everything, the whole prophecy, what it means, what you think I'm supposed to do. So he did. He told her about the ancient seers who'd foreseen a time when vampire and human bloodlines would merge in one person, someone who could channel the strength of both species, who could either forge a permanent peace or wage a war that would end in extinction for both sides. The prophecy says you'll make a choice, Dominic explained. During a great crisis, you'll choose unity or destruction, but it doesn't say when or how. So we're just waiting for some crisis to show up. I've been trying to prevent one, building systems that work for both species, ending conflicts before they escalate. He squeezed her hand, hoping that if we're strong together, the choice won't be as impossible when it comes. We, Olivia repeated. You said we. Of course we, you're my queen, my partner, my love. Whatever comes, we face it together. The warmth in her chest spread. No more secrets. No more secrets. And you'll teach me to use this magic properly, so I'm not just randomly glowing during medical emergencies. I'll find you the best teachers in the kingdom. He pulled her onto the bed beside him, though I admit I rather like it when you glow. Of course you do, dramatic vampire. Dramatic magical queen. She kissed him then, pouring forgiveness and love and exasperation into it. When they broke apart, Dominic was smiling. So what now? Olivia asked. We just continue building our life and hope the prophesied crisis is manageable. Essentially, yes. That's a terrible plan. You have a better one. She considered. Actually, yes, we stop being reactive. We don't wait for crisis, we create change. Use my magic, my position, your power to actively unite the species. Build schools where human and vampire children learn together. Create councils with equal representation. Make the unity real before anyone can try to destroy it. Dominic stared at her. That's brilliant and ambitious, and will likely make both our species furious. Probably, are you willing to try anyway? With you, I'd try anything. He kissed her softly. Though I should warn you, if we do this, we're committing to centuries of work. My immortality means this kingdom is my life's work. If you truly join me in this, you're signing up for a very long project.